of the people.
You're still on your channel of choice, Sahara TV. You're welcome back. Accountability is something that ranks very high on the list of priorities of every Nigerian. The just ended election was probably decided very heavily based on that factor. After the election, however, there are still concerns of how much accountability Nigerians are really getting. We have on the line joining us to discuss this and a few other issues, Mr. Oliver Ezeala. Mr. Oliver Ezeala is a national coordinator for the Voice of the Voiceless and Advocacy Group. You're welcome to SaharaTV, Mr. Ezeala.
You're welcome too.
And thanks for making time with us, sir. First of all, let me ask you, Voice of the Voiceless. Your name says a lot, but what exactly do you do?
The Voice of the Voiceless, you omitted the two words, Voice of the Voiceless dash home based. That's the actual name of the organization. It's an NGO. And more importantly, we speak for the voiceless, like the name depicted. We speak for the people who are deprived of their rights and their privileges in the country. With a lot of downtrodden people in the country who live under poverty line. From the onset of Nigeria, these people have been suffering and nobody has ever come forward to die for a cause, to die for them. And this organization actually been so resentful with the whole administration, with the whole activities in the country. And that is why we came up to fight this cause. And our primary objective is to kill corruption in its entirety. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much for that response, sir. You have a rather broad spectrum of issues that I'm sure you would love to tackle. Today, however, I want us to focus on financial issues. For instance, allowances for the members of the National Assembly. You were in the news for protesting that you want the allowances cut. Why is that?
Thank you very much. This is actually the base of our corruption. We talk about salaries and allowances. There are a lot of people. There's a population. Nigeria is a population of 170 people, 70 million. And most importantly, people have been coming up struggling for election, and you keep on wondering, why are people dying just to contest to become honorable members of the House, to become senators? We're made to understand that all this was just because of the allowances they benefit when they get into power. And this, unfortunately, all these things have been packaged by the revenue, there is a body called Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation, Fiscal Commission. They actually packaged it. And all these are a bunch of corrupt bodies, that these people have conspired, to put as a body to increase the allowances for them. And the population actually have been suffering for so long. When these people come up, the first thing they could fight for is the allowances, which is totally wrong.
Mr. Ezeala,
you came into power.
Help us out here. Who exactly constitute the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission? Who are these people, and what kind of connection do they have with government?
They are the people, actually, they were like, initially they were organized. They were organized, and the government actually, the people that actually constituted them were some civil servants, and appointed by previous House members, National Assembly members with the government coming together. They were able to appoint the head, the chairman of this commission. So, in my opinion, I don't think they are neutral. So whatever they do, there's always a corrupt undertone behind it. Whatever they do it to impress so that they can stay in office. That's the revenue mobilization allocation.
Do they have a backing in the Constitution of Nigeria? Is there anything at all in the Constitution that legitimizes such a body?
Yeah, in the Constitution, of course. Yeah, of course. It was yeah. There's a part in the Constitution actually that introduced this commission. Okay, that makes it legal. But at the same time, it is corrupt. It is corrupt because you can imagine that when you come to this what is it called to this allowance and salary, it is also shocking to know that salaries. Imagine salaries in the federal takes only that salary takes only 10%. While allowance takes a staggering 90%. You know, in the federal level, you can imagine that. There's this trick they play with the people, with the common people. They come, they show you, they pretend they're transparent. When they show you their salary, which is stipend, but and beneath it is the allowance, which is so staggering huge. And that is what we resent.
Mr. Ezeala, the argument has been that senators and other members of the National Assembly leave their professions or whatever it is they are doing to come and work on behalf of the people, and they deserve some kind of remuneration, don't you think?
Yeah, they deserve remuneration, but see, if you deserve remuneration actually, is it at the expense of the poor masses? Of course, the oil is not booming as before, and they should learn to tighten their belt. But they disagree just because they are so greedy and so selfish.
So the other argument is that Nigeria is a rich country, oil rich and all of that. Nigeria possibly can afford to pay such remunerations. Have you done any comparison with other African countries, for instance, to see where Nigeria stands, for instance, on a list of who pays how much to their legislators?
I agree with you very much. You see, when you compare it with other African countries, our allowances and salaries are way ahead, huge, far bigger than theirs. And that's why it is so alarming to us. You see, because the senators and the House of Rep members are so greedy, so self-centered that they are not being considerate. You know, with the poverty-stricken populace, with the people in the country, they don't consider them. All they consider is their self. When you're going on such a service, you go there based on the ground that you're going to serve your people, your constituency. But when they take up office, all they know is their pocket, which is very unfair. People in this country have suffered enough. We've been drowned in this deluge of corruption, and it's time we put a stop to it.
All right. So the other argument I would ask is that if they are giving these allowances in Parliament or in the National Assembly and all of that, the federal level, and then there's also the state level, and then senators and all these other members have different staff at different levels, so they actually take on more. Do you agree to this?
Come again, please.
The senators, for instance, have staff at the federal level, and then they also have staff at their state levels. Does that justify why they take so much?
No, you see, I'm a Nigerian, and Nigeria is such an open society where you see everything. Now, see, when you represent constituency, you're supposed to have an office and have staffs. Most of these people don't have staffs. They don't even have offices. You get my point, in their states. Now, let me just put it very clear to you. Most of these allowances are outrageous. They're obnoxious and very ridiculous. Imagine giving my God, have mercy. See, these allowances are, look at something like allowances for domestic staffs and entertainment allowances, utilities, personal assistance, several. The constituency allowances, and then wardrobe allowances. Wardrobe was actually what triggered our grievances, you know, that made us storm the National Assembly. Now, when we talk about constituency allowance, this huge amount is given to them. But where there's nowhere you find a tangible project from a senator or House of Rep member So we still wonder what they use it for. What do they use the constituency allowance for?
Mr. Ezeala,
There's no any project anywhere.
What would be, in your opinion, a justifiable level of remuneration for our legislators?
Yeah, when you talk about accommodation, it's understandable. Talk about furniture, okay? Talk about security, it's understandable. Then special assistance and the medical, it's okay. That's okay, but not when you talk about things like newspapers and you see. I think they can afford, any common man in Nigeria can afford newspaper.
Do the senators really buy newspapers anyway?
Pardon?
In the internet age, though, I know there are still newspapers out there and all of that. Do they really buy newspapers, though?
Yeah, this is. I wonder. I've not even seen any of them pay. But all I know is that they're giving a huge allowance for newspapers.
Okay.
So imagine house maintenance and wardrobe and constituency.
Let's move the discussion forward, sir. So let me ask you then. So you stormed the National Assembly, obviously,
yes,
to stop your grievance.
Allowance.
Has this changed anything? What have you seen since then?
What happened was that they talked about what we heard. What we actually had was they were actually demanding for 9 billion, all of them 9 billion. And we resented it that because at that point in time, this country, people are suffering. People are suffering. And it's so hard for you to see somebody having 2 square meals a day in Nigeria. The oil is not booming as before. I don't see why they can't adjust. And that's what took us to National Assembly. And actually, our going there actually created a little bit of an impact because we called on the attention of the president, who now spoke to the Senate president and co. And we learned they called on the Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation, Fiscal Commission, and they appointed some committees to sit on it. And so far, we think they've been able to adjust a little bit, to the best of our knowledge, because we keep on watching. This is our country.
I want to make sure I want to be sure if we are talking about the same thing here. So, in June, Senate President Bukola Saraki announced that those figures were going to be looked at. Is that what you're referring to right now? Has that been done? And if that has been done, are you satisfied?
Come again, please.
You mentioned that they have looked at the figures again. And I'm asking that in June, Senate President Bukola Saraki announced that the figures were going to be looked at. I'm trying to find out if this is what has been done that you just referred to, and if it is, are you satisfied?
Absolutely. We're still watching. You see, this is a country, my people actually, we are very unusual character, of unique character, very clever and smart. And I can say, most of us, with due respect, I can say some of us can be very good, perfect conduits. You see, what can be said in the press may not be what goes under, behind doors. So what we do, my organization, we are very close watching to know exactly how much they're going to earn for the allowances. We're still very close by watching, because they say we actually try to intercept the committees and to know the outcome. And they keep on telling us they're still on it, they're still on process, they're still processing it. So we're still waiting for the result.
What are you going to do in the meantime? What in Nigeria, there's been a lot of protests. Not too many of them have achieved too much result. What are you going to do beyond protesting?
Actually, I think that is what our organization has been calling for. Corruption, like I keep on saying, corruption has been there from the onset of this country, and that's why we're still where we are. When countries in the Far East that have started on the same footing with us, have gone far ahead of us. So all we are introducing here is death penalty. That is the only best solution for this country.
Death penalty?
And this is my own country. I know people will find it very, very primitive and savage, but the fact remains that that is the only solution for this country. That is the only thing that can deter corruption in this country. Beside that, they will keep on doing all those things, and we will keep on crawling and never stand on our foot.
I'm sure a lot of people will think that the death penalty is a bit severe. I'm not sure if Nigeria has a death penalty at all for any crime, but thank you so much, sir. And before we go, though, Let me ask you, are you also coordinating with some other bodies which have a similar agenda to have a stronger voice in your fight against corruption?
So far, we've been fighting on our own because we are connected to, I think, about 8 states in the country, and we do come together and fight this cause. Because the thing, what makes us different is because we've been advocating for death penalty, so we've become more or less like a taboo. Nobody comes around us since we've been fighting for this, but all we want is just for the best of this country. And the only thing that a Nigerian man and a Nigerian official can never dare is death. Give him life imprisonment. He'll be very, very happy to welcome that. And he'll keep on misappropriating wealth. But when you introduce death penalty, he will never dare death. That only is what can deter a Nigerian official and nothing more. Death penalty.
Interesting thoughts coming from Mr. Oliver Ezeala. Comrade, I understand you prefer to be called Comrade Oliver Ezeala. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck in your noble quest to fight corruption in your motherland, Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Oliver Ezeala, National Coordinator, Voice of the Voiceless Nigeria. Stay tuned, SaharaTV, there's more.